You got it. You want it. It's NFL action. It's the wild card action you need. 2 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday, 1 game Monday Night Football. And here are the spread lines that you need to know. The Los Angeles Rams on the road to Carolina. They played all their starters against the Arizona Cardinals because they wanted to beat the Cardinals so they could get maybe the best matchup of the first round in their favor. They're a road team. Talking about the Rams, Joe, they're also a 10.5-point favorite across the board with a total of 46.5. Carolina, the home team, getting double digits here this weekend. What's your spread line for that first game on Saturday?
Well, I think this tells you everything, right? So we had the first game between these two. I think the Rams were right around a 10.5-point favorite in that one. And now here they are still sitting, Donnie, a couple of days now on the book, still sitting 10.5. The total hasn't moved much, 46.5 from the open, pretty much just that. But, this is going to be one of those situations where when you look at the offense of Carolina, you have to, yes, they beat the Rams there, but a lot of things went Carolina's way in that game. Don't forget, remember the monsoon that started in the second half of that game? Sure. And all of a sudden, Matt Stafford started throwing the ball to the other team. They had fumbles. They were turning the ball all over. A lot of things went well for Carolina. Otherwise, if they played like they did in the first half, they're likely winning that game and covering it. The market is telling you there's no difference here, but the chance of Carolina getting all of those breaks and all that variance working their way, likely not going to happen. This is a team, Donnie, that just spent all season long, and they have a minus 69-point differential. Think about that. Minus 69, and they are in the postseason. Yes, they're a double-digit dog for a reason.
That's why they put that game on Saturday. We'll just be excited for football, and this probably is a clunker of the weekend, at least we anticipate at this point. But again, you're not handicapping there based on, let me take a money line on the Rams. You're handicapping based on, can the Carolina Panthers stay within the 10.5 points? Game number 2 on Saturday, night game. It's going to be a good one. We just saw this a few weeks ago with a lot of injuries to both of these teams. Green Bay is going to take on Chicago. Depending on where you're shopping at, 1.5 to 1 point favorite for the Green Bay Packers, 1 to 1 point favorite for the Chicago Bears, a virtual toss-up, and a total of 45.5. Not terrible weather conditions, Joe, but typical for this time of the year in Chicago. 30 degrees here with a little bit of wind, 10 to 12 miles per hour. Love is expected to be the starter coming off a concussion. The Chicago Bears played all of their starters last week in a loss to the Detroit Lions. Green Bay sat their starters last week. What's your spread line here?
Well, we're hovering around a pick. It's kind of bounced back and forth in a couple of spots where Green Bay is -1, then it's a pick, then a couple of spots. You've got the Bears. Any which way you cut it, the fact that the Bears are the 2 seed, playing a 7 seed, and they are at home, and they are only a pick 'em at best, what does that tell you about the market believing in this Chicago Bears team? What it means is things could go off the rails rather quickly in this game. Not to mention division rival who likely should have beat them twice. I still don't know how Green Bay lost that last game to the Chicago Bears. But you're not going to get a lot of line movement, I think, one way or the other. So if you're hoping for a key number here, Donnie, we're not going to get it. So whatever money line on the team you think is going to win this game is going to be your best path here.
Yeah, taking a look at some of those ticket counts here, still heavily favored in Chicago's direction. We'll see how that one plays out. If we move it to Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock, a great football game to start. That's the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Allen versus Trevor Lawrence. Jaguars, one of the hottest teams in the NFL. But how about this? The Buffalo Bills on the road opened up as a 1.5 point favorite, Joe. We still sit at 1.5 despite only about 35 to 40% of the tickets coming in on the Buffalo Bills. It is a disrespectful number to the Jaguars, but you always like to say, it's the reason why these numbers are here. What's your spread line for this game between Buffalo and Jacksonville?
Well, you can feel slighted all you want, Jags. You have 4 losses on the season. Do you know who they were against? Let me lay them out for you. Seattle, the Rams, Houston, and a Joe Burrow team that he was still on it in week 2, and they smoked you. You know what Seattle, the Rams, and Houston have in common? They're all playoff teams, which means you, along with the Patriots, had one of the best schedules and one of the easiest schedules to take advantage of, and you did. Kudos. But that doesn't mean every time you've stepped up in class, you've lost. And the Bills are a step up in class. So they are a favorite, Donnie, for a reason.
How about this game? San Francisco and Philadelphia opening line numbers around 3. No longer the case. They're up to 4.5 because the 49ers continue to lose football players in games, which includes their backup to backup linebacker here. So I don't know who's playing for the 49ers on defense, but the one thing the Eagles did get right last week, they rested their players. Every single starter outside of Andrew Makuba will be ready, active, which includes Lane Johnson, the best right tackle in football. This line now sits at a 4.5 and a total of 44.5. The banged-up Niners come 3,000 miles east to take on the Eagles on Sunday afternoon. Joe, what's your spread line here?
Well, we saw a whole lot of money come in on Seattle throughout the week when they were playing San Francisco, and San Francisco was at home there, and I think that told us what the market thought here as they were a home dog, and now they got to travel to the defending champs to go up against another elite defense, and the 49ers are a team that they were great against mediocre teams all year. The offense looked like they could drop 40 on anybody unless they have a quality and elite defense, which Seattle did last week and the Eagles do. And having to go on the road, I don't think this is ever getting back to the key number 3. It's hovering around 3.5. There are 4s popping in. And Donnie, I'd be shocked if any 49er money comes in before kickoff. I think it's going to be all Eagles in this one.
Black Monday in the NFL. I'm pretty sure we're going to probably have a Black Tuesday and a Black Wednesday with more people, including front offices, general managers, and head coaches being let go from the organizations because of failure to win on the football field. Understand this. A lot of times, a general manager and a head coach, you are just hired to be fired. It's a tough job in a high-leverage situation. It's rare that you have 10 and 15-year runs. Now, you take a look at the Cleveland Browns, and who would have thought they would have a 2-time coach of the year be let go, and also still keep your general manager. And to me, Joe, I look at the general manager and the head coach really hand in hand. Like, I'm the GM, I picked this guy to be my head coach. Maybe get another head coach there, but also you have to be under scrutiny of some of the moves that you made because the head coach typically has to use the GM's ingredients to try to whip up a nice meal, which includes a victory on the football field. But Kevin Stefanski is out of a job. We'll start there first for Cleveland. Do you agree with that? Because sometimes it is time for a change, but as you see the tweet also, Andrew Berry is staying. He's made some of the worst moves that you could possibly make, and he also is, quote-unquote, a bad general manager. Hey, we don't want Baker Mayfield anymore. Let's send him down the road. He's going to have success. Let's take on the worst contract in the history of professional sports. You, my friend, can stay at your job. The head coach, he's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, where else other than the Browns can you actually take the worst trade in the history of sports and make it into some sort of promotion and then act as if you've nailed the quarterback spot? I mean, you're one of the best teams in the NFL. 27 starting quarterbacks for 13 seasons in charge. So, yay, Jimmy has, again, starts at the top. The worst part about the Browns is they have no self-awareness. Jimmy Haslam thinks he's actually got things heading in the right direction, and they have no, you keep the GM, but you fire Stefanski because he's the make it make sense, Donnie, please.
It doesn't make any sense. And again, here's the product of your environment. Like, we don't have like a relegation where it's like, oh, Cleveland gets relegated to Division II NFL football, and therefore their franchise goes from $6 billion to $1 billion overnight. We don't have that. You could be as bad as you want. You can make the stupidest decisions. You could be a terrible owner, and every single year you just continue to print money. That Adam Schefter tweet, the quarterbacks post Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. Take a look at that roster. Like, what are you expecting the head coach to do? And also, it's not as if you're taking flyers like, hey, we picked up Justin Fields for 2 years and $40 million. Deshaun Watson had a $250+ million guaranteed contract and gave them nothing. That's what your general manager did. But also understand this in professional sports. Meddling owners like Jimmy Haslam, they get protected by general managers, and you have to own the score. I'm going to come into that room. I want you to take all the shrapnel. This was your decision to take this quarterback. I know it was mine, but publicly it's going to be on you. And therefore, I'll keep you around because you are the guy I want to take all those arrows. That's probably what happened in Cleveland. Hey, Jimmy, I don't think we should take Deshaun Watson. Don't worry. I want him here. If it falls out and doesn't work, I'm going to get the credit as an owner, but you're going to fall on the sword as a GM if it doesn't work out. That's what happens. That's big business as we go on now. What's next for Cleveland? Who knows?
He kept him. But then he's got the nerve with a straight face to tell us, at least he found us a kicker. What? What are you talking about, Jimmy Haslam? Are you out of your mind? Please. I guess if you fall on the sword, maybe you get a little an extra life, and that's what Andrew Berry did by pulling off that Watson trade for him.
And how about this? Kevin Stefanski shoots to the leader to be the next head coach of the New York Giants on Kalshi. Is at a 30% chance right now. Favorite over Mike McCarthy, Jeff Hafley, John Harbaugh, if he gets let loose, and Clint Kubiak, offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. Stefanski, the hot name on the market right now. Why? Because he's on the market right now.
Exactly. And so now if I'm Tomlin or if I am Harbaugh, please fire me. God, please fire. They will be unemployed for all of 30 seconds. Stop it here. I would really like to see what Stefanski can do with a legit quarterback, an actual prospect that could be an NFL franchise quarterback. They have one in New York. If you gave me Stefanski as a retread or, McCarthy, who are you taking, Donnie?
Yeah, I'm not taking. I'll tell you what now. I'm not taking Mike McCarthy, so we'll leave it at that. As long as they don't go Mike McCarthy, like okay, or Joe Judge, you know what I mean? Then we'll be okay for the Giants as it adds. Yep. They need an offensive coordinator with an offensive mind. Just make the smart one, not the relic here. Yep. Get the smart one here. Ari Miro sent a tweet out yesterday. The OC Matt Nagy of the Chiefs is now being requested for an interview with the Titans. By the way, the Titans have maybe the worst, 2 to 3 year stretch of a general manager / ownership group / head coach. Like when they had Callahan, it's like, who is this guy and why did you hire him? Exactly. He got blown out quickly there. And also now looking at Raheem Morris, I don't trust anything the Titans do, but they did restructure their front office. That should be great.
Well, listen, if I am Raheem Morris, I am calling up Carolina and be like, you know what I did for you, right? Like it's like you're not in the postseason if I don't beat New Orleans. You got a job opening. He will likely be a DC somewhere sooner rather than later than a head coach.
Again, fathers passing away as owners, handing it down to their family. It does not work out. We'll be right back. More NFL news and notes. Oh, the Jets, man. They were so bad this year. They were giving interviews outside the stadium, putting mics up to kids like, look, I'm always going to be a Jets fan. I was born into this. I hate this team. And then you even had little kids getting their heart broken. The one thing that kid could hold on to is that he had Sauce Gardner he could watch every week, and now he doesn't have Sauce Gardner that he can watch every week. But we do have draft capital for the Jets, but understand this. Sometimes you just want to sit down on a Sunday, on the couch on a Sunday, pop open a beer, order pizza, and say, let me just enjoy my favorite team, get away from the world for 3 hours. You couldn't do that as a Jets fan. Look at this Rich Cimini tweet. An eye-opener, he says. The Jets trailed by double digits for 53.1% of their offensive plays this season, the highest percentage by any team this century. The only other teams at 50% or higher are the 2011 Bucks and the 2000 Cardinals via ESPN research. Like, you couldn't even enjoy these games, but understand one thing. There was a directive given to this team midway through the season. Don't you dare improve your draft position. They aced that mission so well that now they're like, should we get rid of our coach because he was that bad? You asked him to lose, and he lost and didn't keep it close. Maybe there's a future there. Who knows?
Everything you need to know about the Jets happened yesterday when literally not one player showed up for the exit interviews. Like not one. Breece Hall got in, got out, cleaned out his locker room before anyone in the media could see. Garrett Wilson actually never showed up in the locker room. Like the reporters were waiting for anybody to talk to, and none of the Jet players showed up to give any of the interviews. So that tells you everything you need to know on how swimmingly things went this season for the New York Jets. But at least they have the capital, and all of this will be water under the bridge if you nail the draft. And that is a 50-50 proposition.
Exactly. How about Russell Wilson? One last parting gift there to the Giants. And by the way, he came on Twitter or social media to explain that it wasn't the Giants' fault. But how about this? Tore his hamstring on the last play of a practice before week 2 against Dallas. Didn't tell anybody, and didn't work out so well in their favor either for Russell Wilson at this point. NFL investigation, because we as handicappers would like to know if a player has a torn hamstring before they play a football game, specifically a quarterback.
Don't worry about it. He's going to be the new quarterback of the Raiders, I believe. Tom Brady will bring him in because, yes, Brady sees something. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, bring him back in. I am sure he'll be on a sideline somewhere. For what reason, I have no idea, but the state of quarterbacks in the NFL ain't great here, Donnie. We know that.
No, certainly not. By the way, quick little handicap update there. Los Angeles Rams and the Carolina Panthers. We did a little bit on this a little bit earlier in the show. Weather conditions for this game, Joe. Taking a look at that. It's not too bad. 68 degrees, but there is some precipitation now. getting into the forecast. And we know that last game worked out. Hey, Rams should win this easy. Fumbles, interceptions later. You don't have a victory and a win for the Carolina Panthers. They're getting double digits, Joe. Does that weather concern you looking maybe on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Because if there's rain in the forecast, it gives me a little bit of pause. Does it you?
Well, listen, any of these games that have, teams playing in conditions they're not used to. And I think maybe the biggest one to keep an eye on, Donnie, is the Houston and Pittsburgh game. What is the weather going? Because don't forget, Houston's an indoor defense. They are much better at home indoors than they have been on the road. Now you throw in 8-degree temperatures and 20-mile-an-hour wind. Make sure you know what the weather is going to be in Pittsburgh for that Monday kickoff.
Good point. It's a good point here. Let's talk some MVP awards. And I'm telling you, I might be the leader of the forefront. I hope we have Adam Kaufman on the show a little bit later on, because this is one where I can't get around it. You are supposed to, as a coach, look out for your players. Now, if it's a game where you have to win, which theoretically New England had to win, but this wasn't hey, man, it's 16-15 entering into the fourth quarter. We just can't worry about Drake May's statistics for an MVP. We got to win this to keep up. I understand. That game was a blowout from jump to start, and the Dolphins told you it was going to be a blowout by saying, look, Waddle's not playing, Tua's not playing in this football game, not even Devon Achane is going to play in this football game. We're going to roll over for this, okay? And yet you don't pad some stats for Drake May while the Rams understood, hey, Matthew Stafford, you're one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it. And we hang an MVP on your mantle. Every chance we get in this game, which we have to win as well, we're going to let you throw touchdown passes. You went from a minus 500 or so as a favorite for Drake May before entering into Week 18 for the MVP at certain outlets here. Now you take a look at this graphic. Matthew Stafford is a minus 175 favorite to win MVP, and Drake May is now a plus 140. It's rare you get chances to win an MVP. And when you have a layup game that your coach can call just a few passing plays inside the 5-yard line to pad those stats and have you win it, and you don't do it, I think it's a terrible look for Mike Vrabel. I just do, Joe. What are your thoughts on this now?
Can we get a dual MVP? Can we get a co-MVP? Have we ever had a co-MVP?
AFC, NFC?
I mean, in the in the AFC we have two MVPs. We got we got MVPs every. I mean, come on, you knew it was happening too. Watching it go on, it was just that they had so much success running the ball. New England did against Miami, where it was just and then Miami kept scoring and keeping the game close. So it was unfortunate the way it unfolded, but there was no doubt that McVay and company, he was going to play the majority of that game regardless, and racked up 4 touchdowns in the process. Not a rushing 4 touchdown passes inside the red zone for touchdowns. That is how you do it. And that is experience with McVay for you.
Understand the task at hand and what you have, right? And what keeps it up.
Right.
If the player and the coach agree to it, if you sit the game out entirely, that's one thing. But if the guy is playing, it's on you to make sure that you put him in the best possible position here to win awards. Not to win awards hey, Rookie of the Year, which is a great one. MVP, man, that goes on your mantle. That's sometimes the difference in making the Hall of Fame or not making the Hall of Fame, or making your career not hey, man, that guy won the MVP. That's a special award. Because if you would have sat Drake May in Week 18 and didn't win it, I look at it completely different. Hey, Drake May understands the task. Playoffs are more important, but he played and damn near played the entire game until it was a 4-touchdown blowout at that point. Just interesting. We'll see how this turns out, because it was Drake May's to win, and now it's not his to win, and it's not his fault. It's coach's fault in some of the play calling here. Green Bay and Chicago.
Is it Vrabel or McDaniel, though? Who are we blaming? Is it Vrabel or McDaniel? You're blaming Vrabel. Okay.
It's a very good point you bring up on that, because the end-all be-all is who wants to play, who doesn't want to play. It's on the coach. But don't you have those meetings during the week? We're not fish out of water where it's 15 years ago where it's legalized gambling isn't here. How do we even know who's winning the MVP award race? Everybody talks, everybody understands. When you come in that final week, hey, Stephon Diggs, 30 yards out there, that's going to get you $500,000. Look, you're going to play in this game. We'll make sure to get that to you. And by the way, they didn't even do that. Let's go 3 or 4 slants to begin the game to get you to 30 yards. He actually had to go to one of the last drives in the third quarter of a blowout to get those points. But it's understandable. You take care of the players that are going to take care of you as a head coach. Now, if there weren't any numerical numbers that Drake, man, I got to get you 2 touchdown passes, that'll get you here.
Right.
But just the simple fact is, the guy's up for MVP. What would look better than Trayvon Henderson running in touchdowns inside the 5-yard line, or having a wildcat formation at the 1? How about a pick play 1 yard out for Drake May? He goes, hey, man, I threw for 198 yards and 3 touchdowns. Give me my MVP. They didn't do it. Like, that was interesting, but I do agree with you there. Who was to blame? It's a culmination, but ultimately, for me, leans with the head coach there. Head coach here played his starters last week and still lost what? Still has the number 2 seed. That's Ben Johnson. And now they're going to take on the Green Bay Packers, who rested last week in a meaningless game for them. And now we see the Green Bay Packers as a favorite at the number 2 seed. Last time I saw this was the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017. Atlanta came to town as a favorite. Why? Because Carson Wentz wasn't the quarterback. The quarterback is still playing in Chicago. The number 2 seed against the 7 is a favorite. The 7 seed is a favorite, Joe.
Again, it speaks volumes, Donnie, as to what the market thinks about the Chicago Bears. And at this point, you're talking about a banged up Green Bay team, but they can be banged up all you want. Whether it's Malik Willis or it's Jordan Love going, they have already shown they can go toe to toe and they can beat the Chicago Bears. It feels like Green Bay they played better than their record says. And it feels like the market thinks Chicago is worse than what their record says.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love it. It's wild card weekend. We have to worry about who's sitting, who's not sitting here, but you are going to have those implications now. Some teams rested their starters, some didn't. Like, it's one thing if Chicago had rested their starters and still won, played their starters and still won. They played against a team dead in the water in Detroit that everybody's blasting, and they lost that game. That's got to be a little bit psychological disadvantage. Pink slips were flying yesterday in the NFL, and one of those teams that gave a pink slip to the head coach was Jonathan Gannon of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Joe and I just got done talking about sometimes it's not the head coach's fault. I thought Gannon was an interesting hire coming off that Super Bowl year for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's almost like that last resort. We got to wait and get this guy. It's like, well, what's he going to provide us? Well, apparently not much. Defense wasn't very good, and they still haven't figured out who their franchise quarterback is going to be. And quite frankly, the offense looked just as good with Jacoby Brissett than it did Kyler Murray. But understand this. They have a horrendous ownership group. It's no surprise that they're usually the bottom of the barrel out there in the West.
Yeah, and shocker here. And listen, I mean, it wasn't great, but it really wasn't all his fault. And again, another one of these situations where, he walked into an absolute dumpster fire of dysfunction there. He actually kind of righted the ship a little bit. But, Kyler Murray wasn't his guy. He inherited a lot of that dysfunction there. And the GM that hired him, that brought him in, is still there. So some of this I just don't understand. Not to mention, every year, Donnie, they take those anonymous player surveys about how great the organization is or isn't. And, every year the worst place rated by the players is Arizona. So who wants that job? I mean, really?
And again, take care of the people that take care of you. You print money. Now, granted, maybe doesn't have a conglomerate. Talking about the Bidwell family, it just maybe owns them and nothing else at this point, which is always going to hamstring it because most owners, like the owner revolution felt like it began with me, like Mark Cuban when he bought Dallas. He was like, oh, you guys don't like your jet? Here's a new jet. Hey, you guys aren't comfortable sitting on the bench? Here's an awesome bench to sit on. Hey, you guys want more technology on the plane when you go? It's like, hey, you know what? That's going to make a better environment, which led them to a championship with Dirk Nowitzki. And usually guys that play for Dallas, like, oh, man, it was a great organization under Mark Cuban. You're right. When you see these surveys come out, it's like, just make my life easier as a player when I sign with you. Hey, you know what? I got 2 young kids at home. I got a wife that's trying to start a career as well. I can drop them off to daycare and you don't bill me at the end of the day. Or how about this? It's game day. My wife just wants to enjoy the game. I have 3 small toddlers. Can you have childcare on premises here? Yeah, but you got to pay $37 an hour for that. Or how about this? My favorite one always, and sometimes it deals with Cincinnati. The players show up and it's like, well, we have free lunch on like Wednesday and Thursday. Well, I'm a pro. I work here every day. So I got to order out. And he said, well, they're rich. It's not the point. Every other organization, you show up at the training table, which means I want breakfast here. You walk into a cafeteria with chefs making you omelets whenever you want to make. You go in for lunch. I want a steak. I want some seafood. They give it to you. Oh, by the way, on my way home for dinner, let me get a plate for myself and my wife at no charge. Players give more to organizations that take care of them. And you're right. Arizona doesn't take care of anything. Like if you're a billionaire and you're worried about, well, hey, if we're having chicken on Friday and grilled chicken, that's going to cost us an extra $2,000 on a Monday. You're worried about that, Joe? Come on.
I'm telling you, and then basically you're never going to get your number one choice because guys that have options are never going to choose the Cardinals. It's only the guys have no other options and nobody else wants is what you're going to be stuck with. That's a situation where the Bidwells, time to look in the mirror. You're not getting the number one available coordinator or guy. No, you're going to get the leftovers, and then we're going to do this again in a couple of years.
Like, even in some organizations, like let's say the West Coast teams, like I remember Jim Harbaugh started with the 49ers. Hey,
Yep.
if we have 2 games on the East Coast in the middle of the year, I need the best hotel and I need a practice facility that we're going to front the entire week so we don't have to come back, which gives us our best chance to win. Like a guy like Bidwell would be like, we're not staying in Tampa for an extra 2 weeks because we have to play Miami. You're flying back here on a commercial jet that everybody's squeezed into, and you're going to deal with it so we can save some money. Man, stop the madness here. And also stopping the madness out there with the Raiders. Pete Carroll, let go. Who's going to come on next? By the way, who do you think takes that job? Because quite frankly, even though it is a bad organization over the past, like they have the number 1 overall pick, which you can attach yourself to a quarterback that you think is going to be a franchise guy. You can get an extra 5 to 10 years if you're a head coach, if that goes right for you here. Interesting stuff out there in Vegas. Now that Pete Carroll's gone.
Well, and the stories are coming out now. Apparently, there was a huge rift between Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. But if you remember, Pete Carroll did not hire Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was hired by the organization. He wanted other guys and didn't get them. And voila, just like that, you started off where Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly are going head-to-head at one another, and then you throw in a Max Crosby situation where he's become a distraction. You trade away Jacoby Myers. Like, it's just dysfunction after dysfunction, and very little of it, ironically, had anything to do with Pete Carroll. He walked into this situation, and none of it had anything to do with him.
Zach Taylor coming back to the Bengals for only one reason. They don't want to pay out an extra of a contract to their coaching staff. So they all come back, includes the general manager, who's like a family friend and not necessarily a general manager. Good luck, Cincinnati, building that defense back.
And the only reason he still has a job, I'm telling you, is the Bengals are another one of those organizations. But Joe Burrow loves him. As long as Joe Burrow is in his corner, I promise you there won't be a head coaching change there. But the minute that relationship goes sideways, look out. But Joe Burrow and, by the way, Jamar Chase and Higgins, and why wouldn't they? Look at the numbers they put up when healthy. Of course you like this guy. I don't know how long it lasts, though.
Joe Shane back with the New York Giants. We got a clip here showing his past mistakes, which might be an hour long. Let's check it out.
Yeah, Art, for me, it's, early on I made mistakes. I'm fortunate to have great ownership here where you're allowed to stub your toe and try to course correct. And over the last couple of years, we've been able to add a franchise quarterback. You've been able to add a number 1 receiver in Malik Neighbors, who, again, I'm looking forward to getting him back. And there are, the defensive line, the pass rushers. There's pieces in place that also make this an attractive job. So looking at where we're going, where the build is, what the plan is moving forward, and seeing the vision through is why I think that's the case, Art.
Now, we're going to head into a commercial break in just a little bit, Joe, because there's a lot to digest. Now, the sign of a good organization is yes, but this isn't an organization that's like, hey, we stubbed our toe and we're right back at it. Like, they are on the bottom. You're supposed to get a franchise quarterback when you draft high every year. You're supposed to get a franchise wide receiver when you draft high every year. But what is your record when you're drafting every single year, Joe?
A lot of people will say, we have completely lost any set of standards that this organization used to stand for. He still having a job means you have no more standards, Giants.
None, zero. It means him and the Mara family get along well and they like to eat lunch on like Mondays and Tuesdays. That's what that means. We'll be right back. Predictive markets, we love them right here on the early line and like to bring you a few topics that are coming across our plate that we think might be of interest to you. It's Donnie Rightside and it's Joe Ranieri. It is the early line. Now we had the poly market and Lamar Jackson is a hot topic right now. How about this question that you can invest in? Lamar Jackson traded by next season. There's a 13% chance here. So if you bet actually 24 cents is the number, $100 brings back $312 if you invest in Lamar Jackson being traded by next season. $100 wager in the opposite direction, Joe, gets you $101.34 back, $1.34.
Wow.
You can't even buy coffee with that.
No, you can't, but it certainly feels like the right side, though,
Wow.
Donnie, doesn't it? I mean, listen, I still think that we are a year away from the system being blown up there in Baltimore. I think one more year, there's enough built-in injuries and I think and excuses this year that, you know, they can make some adjustments. They'll give Harbaugh another year. I think they'll give Lamar one more year. And then if it doesn't work next year, it blow it up and start from scratch, Donnie.
Next question. This is a good one. Will Aaron Rodgers retire before next season? Absolutely not. No is at 55%. So a $100 investment, Joe, pays back $162.05. So 62%. He made the playoffs. He continues to tell you every single day how much he loves to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even if they lose their next game, Mike Tomlin's going to be back, and they want him back here. Again, you do have to tie up your money for some time. And also, the market does resolve to yes if he retires before the start of the 26-27 NFL regular season. So you go through camp, and then he's like, you know what? I just don't want to play. Nonsense. There's no way he's retiring before next season. So I'm voting no. Give me my $62.
Well, the big question I don't think is whether or not he wants it. The question is there anybody going to offer him the chance to not retire? He might have to retire just because the market's like, listen, at 43 years old, I mean, nice, but like we're good. We're not investing in a 43-year-old quarterback, another system, another everything else. There's a lot of baggage that comes with him outside of Pittsburgh. Who else would have got him this year? So my only fear, Donnie, would be nobody else is willing to give him the shot to come back in a place that can win now, because that's going to be important to him. I think there's a good shot he can't find anybody and has to retire.
No way. No way, Joe. You're wrong with that one. By the way, if Tyler Loop's field goal goes through the uprights, this would have been a really interesting question. I'm telling you, Mike Tomlin right now has glitter in his eyes going, man, if he comes back, that's 9 wins for me next year. We'll never have a losing season. What's he want? Duck Hodges back at the helm? He's going to go back and get, hey, Justin Fields a free agent again. Let's try that one again.
Yes.
I'm telling you, he's back. Collect your $62. Maybe you can have 2 Five Guys burgers and some fries for that $62 next year in September when he laces them up once again for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the Early Line Radio on the SportsGrid Network. It's Donnie and Joe. We just hit you off with some college football action. We're excited. We're ready. Thursday and Friday night, you will determine who is going to play in that national championship game. And also in the NFL, we start the playoffs this week on Wild Card Weekend. 2 Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 on Monday night, which is where we're going to start here. And we're going to start with a little Aaron Rodgers talking about those special playoff moments here.
I embrace all the moments. You know, I enjoy all of it. There's a lot of beauty in the mundane. The mundane is the Monday to Saturday where you can actually win games. And I embrace that part of the job. I've loved it. That's why I'm still here, still playing. Obviously, the icing on the cake is game day. But Monday to Saturday is where you win games.
Have you pushed that on these guys about the importance of the Monday? Have they appreciated it?
I mean, you got to ask them. I hope so. That's what I've been about my entire career. You know, it's the beauty in the details and the small things that show up on game day, and conversation that might happen on a Monday or a Tuesday at my house or Wednesday in this meeting here is going to show up on game day. So we got to be locked in. When you step in the building, there's a professionalism that doesn't turn off when you're doing any type of rep. When you're sitting in the classroom, those are all important moments to get ready to play on Sunday, because like I said, you can win games Monday to Saturday if you have the details down the right way.
There you go. Aaron Rodgers ready to roll, getting into that weight room here, getting into that meeting room and saying, win those games, not on Sundays or Mondays, but win them throughout the week here, Joe. And we take a look. Houston and Pittsburgh, Monday Night Football, 3.5-point favorite. Not to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the Texans here. And a total, Joe, 39.5. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I know, low total here, but again, we mentioned it last hour. I'll mention it again. Of all the games, this one you better know what the weather situation is going to be like, because as good as this Houston defense has been, they are a different team indoors than they are outdoors. And now you add in the elements, not just for the defense, but C.J. Stroud and the offense. I need to know, is this going to be a 7-degree game here with 20-mile-an-hour winds? Is it going to be 40 degrees? I think that's going to go a long way in helping us have a better understanding of whether this game has a chance of going over or if this thing is a dead under, which is likely the way I'll be looking one way or the other.
How about DK Metcalf talking about being back in the building from his suspension?
No, I can't. What was that process like as far as the appeals and talking with the NFL? Just kind of, can you walk us through that process?
I can't walk y'all through nothing that happened.
Were you surprised that the appeal was upheld and didn't go the other way?
Yeah, but that's all I can say.
I respect that you don't and can't really go into a lot of it, but is there anything you would like to clarify about misinformation or anything else like that?
I can't say nothing about what happened.
Is that because there's ongoing
I can't say
legal
anything
stuff?
about what happened for the 5th time.
How excited are you for Monday night to get out there, be back out there
Thank
with
you,
your
Mr.
teammates?
I'm excited as hell to be back in the building around my teammates, being in meetings, going to practice, all the things that, encompass a week of preparation.
He can't say anything, not from an NFL perspective, Joe, but from a civil lawsuit here, because what he said and what goes to discovery on what he says allegedly that person said in the stands, that could be worth millions of dollars. So he's smart to just keep his mouth shut and say no comment at that point. But him being back to that offense gives them a weapon on the outside that they desperately need.
Yeah, big time. Different team with him on the field, and they're gonna have their hands. They're gonna have their hands full here. And again, no more experience than the guy under center who will be throwing him the ball there, and Aaron Rodgers, who seems to be playing at a level that is much closer to the Aaron Rodgers of old than anything we saw with the Jets. Thank goodness.
Chargers and the Patriots Sunday night football playoffs here. New England played their starters and hammered the lowly Miami Dolphins when the Chargers basically took a week off, but still play competitive with their backups against the number 1 seed, the Denver Broncos. This line has been sitting at 3.5 all week long in a total of 46.5. Is that offensive line just too big of a challenge to overcome for the Chargers, or does Harbaugh bring the boys into town for a close game with the Pats?
Yeah, it's it's a long trip east for the Chargers here, going into the elements once again. But I think being able to rest the starters on both sides of the ball, they were extremely competitive against all the starters against Denver in that spot. Listen, I think Miami showed the Chargers some of that weakness on the defensive side of the ball for New England that, let's face it, it's one thing, to be able to look bad against the backups for the Miami Dolphins, but Justin Herbert is more than capable with that offense of taking advantage of some of those weak spots. So this is the most dangerous dog, I think, on the card this week, Donnie. I think the Patriots need to be very careful about this game.
Yeah, look, Herbert, man, we've seen it. Even with that, not a great defensive line here, pass rush-wise, for the New England Patriots. Maybe that helps out a little bit, but that's going to be a fun football game, Sunday Night Football. Heck, they're all going to be fun. But by the way, talking about the Chargers, an extension of their family is Phillip Rivers. How about Phillip Rivers on maybe getting a head coaching look here?
There was a report that you would possibly consider being an NFL head coach. Is that true, or how would you approach that question if you get asked about
it? I think, there's been nothing. There's nothing of concrete with that. I think if anything, this past month has taught me is, you just kind of you're open, obviously, to anything, I guess. And then you go from there. But I'm looking forward to going back home and getting back with those guys, getting back with my family, and Gunner senior season coming up, and we've been back-to-back semifinals, and hopefully we can get over the hump this year. But so I don't have any of those things on my radar, but certainly it's nothing that I would shut down before it even became a possibility.
Yeah, dude knows a lot about offense. Maybe works this way. Do you remember when Josh McCown was out? We're going to make him head coach. I think it was the Houston Texans, and everybody had a heart attack at this point. Work your way in, because I do think Phillip Rivers can add something here. And boy, he would be a hilarious head coach at these press conferences, man.
He would be fantastic. But listen, he's got a taste of it, right? He's been a high school coach now since he stopped playing. And you could do a lot worse on the sidelines than a future Hall of Famer in Phillip Rivers there teaching you young quarterbacks.
Oh, he's definitely got a future. There's no doubt about it. Just the way he wants to do it. Maybe. He's got 9 kids. I'm hey, once my kids get through high school, he's got a wave of them. And by the way, some of his kids are in their 20s at this point. They could probably play NFL football and be hey, Dad, throw passes to me in the NFL like Bronny and LeBron James. We'll talk Eagles, 49ers next, and best bets and more. We're going to close this show down in style on a Tuesday. We'll be right back. One final game to preview here on Wild Card Weekend. That's the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll be Sunday, 4:30 slot. This line opened up at 2.5 to 3.5. Now sits at 4.5 across the board in the total, which opened up around 46.5. We're now down to 44.5 at most outlets here. And here's Jordan Davis talking about the playoff matchup here.
Jordan, we've heard a lot of players talk about, heard a lot of players talking about taking it to the next level in the playoffs. A couple of your teammates have told us that in the past minutes. What gives you the confidence this team is ready to take it to the next level with the playoffs?
I think it's important to understand that the playoffs are an opportunity for us to win and forget the past mistakes, forget the past games that we didn't win, forget everything because everybody's on an even slate. And my thing is, if you're prepared and you work hard and you keep going and you have the same process and you have the same, it shouldn't be too much extra that you have to do because you're already giving it everything you got. I know for me at least that I've been giving it everything I got, so my preparation is going to be the same. I feel like if you have to turn it up in a moment like this, then, that's kind of not a good thing, not a bad thing, but it's just something to, kind of keep in mind. But I know for me and my process is going to be the same as every week. I will say probably a little bit more, I want to work on my body and kind of get my body under together because, this is survive in advance. You have to be at your tip-top shape. You have to be because you never know. This could be your last game. And I think that's something that we all need to keep in the back of our minds, that these opportunities that we haven't for going forward are not promised. And you have to put in the work. You have to be ready for that moment to be called.
Big game in Philadelphia, Sunday at 4:30. Joe, what are we thinking early week?
Yeah, I mean, huge game, but I'm still having a hard time figuring out how we're getting 47, 48 points in this game, Donnie. I do think that this is going to be a slog. I think that Philadelphia is going to do their best to control tempo, control pace, control the ball, and, do their usual thing, make it so the San Francisco 49ers, they're going to have to panic a little playing from behind. And that usually leads to some mistakes against that defense. I think it's a dead under this game.
Let's see what happens in Philadelphia in Wild Card Weekend. But now's the time of the show. We want to reach out to the public and find out what they think about a certain topic here. Here's our Fave the Public poll. At SportsGrid on X, the question we asked this morning, should the Dolphins trade Tua Tagovailoa this offseason? Resoundingly, 95% yes, it's time versus absolutely not. The people have spoken, Joe. Do you agree?
Who is saying absolutely not? Who is that? Did Tua vote in this? Well, they want him out too. I can promise you that. So, yeah, I agree with the public. A change of scenery is a good thing, and it's just everything I'm hearing is not good about his attitude, his demeanor, the kind of lost. There's always been questions about his leadership, Donnie. Who are we kidding in that locker room? And apparently the organization is willing to move on. So should the fans.
Yeah, and also, like Mike McDaniel, there's no guarantee that he's still coming back at this point, as there's a couple of reports that other prospective GMs are looking at that position that way. So maybe there's still more fallout in Miami, but it seems like, they tried it, just didn't work out. Maybe they shouldn't have gave the big extension to Tua. It is what it is, maybe a learning process through there.